and well, here we go with the first game of this quarterfinal match of the League Cup. As for the gods, we see Loki, Thor, and Set for the BRTB, and Onus are going with Oranos, Thor, and Poseidon. So quite some interesting gods to see here. No Zeus, but the Poseidon, which is interesting. So let's see how this will develop into the game. The first to have a look at the bottom is Sharingan, who is playing the pocket for BRT, going for his standard hunt on the left, and well moving with his priest into the forefront to try and capture some of those animals here on this map that is pretty bountiful on them and whatnot. Otherwise, the back TC is pretty much okay. Front TC is pretty close as well, so he shouldn't be having any problems whatsoever with it. So I would expect some kind of calm game from him. And yeah, looking at the TC placements, really, it seems like everybody is pretty much safe. Dark Host as the right flank of his team as well. Pretty nice position, and it's going to be kind of interesting in contrast with his opponent Sparks, but it seems like it's completely cut off from the water, so he should be reasonably safe, and so should be this TC or Sparks. We have also seen some first relic here, better unit line of sight, alright, so that's going to provide for some very nice raiding, and to continue with the TCs of the RTBs, on the left side is pretty much similar position as on the right, and all those seems to be kind of cut off by the water. I would guess there's really going to be a big water body here, and well, this is though pretty close to his opponent Yubi, so might be quite important for the early game and maybe even a mid game. So I expect a lot of fights around this TC. Some extra relics, better hero damage versus Smith units, that's not half bad. Archer Ballista and whatnot, another LOS and range. And I don't see anything else, so let's just check the starting positions and what are the players doing. Right now Alvheim as the left flank of BRT, having just the hunting dogs as is usual, already gathering from the gold mine as Loki, of course, having pretty good back mine and some extra hunt in hippos on the left side, and also, of course, some cranes just now being discovered by the defensive scouting of the Ulfsark. Otherwise, I guess we can just switch into the opponents here, and that's going to be Yubi, the first one. That's the only Oranos in the game, if I remember correctly. Right now building Manor, already having Economy Guild because of the hunting dogs, of course, and his map seems to be kind of okay as for the rest. Hippos on the left, wood line is kind of far away from each other, but that's not really a problem, I would say, and shouldn't really matter all that much, especially when he's an Oranos. This relic we have seen, this TC position, this is a third from Yubi, so it's kind of farther away from him, and yeah, really, this TC will be very important for both of these players, blue and green, and we'll see who will win the fight for it. Another relic, myth unit special attacks faster. Okay, that's pretty cool. 20 building pierce attack, also pretty nice, especially for a Negi. And gold trickle, yeah, of course. And another relic right there, and that's better villager food carrying capacity, which is very useful for farming, as it means your guys will spend all that less time walking back to the TC or the granary. So Temple for Piscapa in pocket for Onus is right now finished, so he will be advancing into Classical pretty soon. I would expect Hermes right there, as it's kind of usual to play, and yep, here he is, and that's pretty fast advance. That's like 420. 420, just two guys on the gold, so there's definitely going to be a whole lot of centaurs here. Yeah, he's getting in right now, and definitely not thinking about going for the hippicons. Or maybe right now he's switching, let's see. Or if he's going... Yep, he is right now going for the gold, although he's kinda not sure what to do first. Trying to reposition his release so that they are much better positioned, so that they don't have to spend all that much time walking. But we don't really see pickaxe yet, but I will expect it pretty soon, and yeah, here it is. So that's going to be pretty much a standard. So yep, some hippicons with quite some guys on the horses. He has just captured some relic. What was it? That was the villager food carrying capacity, and as a Thor he is already 40% into Freya. So that's going to be a reasonable advance time, but Yeah, I'm kinda right now curious how it's going to develop because he is protected all along and he's basically having to go into the middle of the map to actually do something. And he might be quite safe to go for some a bit more offensive forward base, something like near the TC, as he won't probably be having all that many problems inside his base. Some nice walling going on from both Alfheim on the left and on the right side Dark Host, who is almost into Freya as well. And well, Sharingan is already through Ptah, trying to convert some of the animals, and here we have Shifting Sands right on top of those food willies, so pretty good job. And Sparks is finding himself in a pretty bad spot, as he is right now taking the relic of the gold trickle, but well, this is a pretty good ceasefire and kinda had to be cast, because otherwise there was a huge risk that Sparks would lose a lot of food willies and food income altogether, which would put him seriously behind, and that would make for a very decent advantage for BRTB. Right now, we see that Darkos is not really going for an aggression, which is kind of curious. He is going for a second DC himself, and Sparks is basically doing the same strategy here. So it's basically like a mirror, those two guys on the right, and we'll see who goes better for it. Right now, I would kind of guess that Darkos will be better off because of the shift in sense, because this was some serious downtime, like 40 seconds at least, not gathering any food whatsoever. So that's a pretty huge problem for this guy, and he will be basically cut off out of any early aggression whatsoever. Alfheim right now, feeling very safe behind his walls, is trying to go for some offensive action, probably trying to fight some food willies himself, possibly from Yubi, but he is not going in the right direction. And Yubi is also walling up himself, and on the right, yeah, he wouldn't really be lucky either. And it seems like the attack is going to be in his base first, as, yep, right now Yubi is stopping the wall production on the middle, and also he is under forest fire from the Valkyrie. And well, this is kinda like all three guys on the one here. And he better return very fast with those units, otherwise the game is not going to go all that well for him. As you can see that Pisca's Epicons are already closing in as well on these food willies. And yeah, they definitely should be going towards the home base, because this is going to be very nasty for him. And if Onus played this right, they could actually deny him quite a lot of resources and kill quite some enemies or other villies. But, well, let's see if Sharingan can help him. He already is having quite some barracks units besides just those animals and the budget, so he should be able to defend quite nicely. This is a very nicely protected tower, and I'm just looking if he's maybe trying to go for upgrade on the towers, as he maybe should, because he is right now heavily under attack and pretty much the only player from BRT who is. Yeah, this is a pretty good raid and kinda unfortunate for Alfheim that he did not notice. Fortunately for him though, he has the tower still very close, and well, this is basically just due to this Oracle, who is having a pretty nice line of sight on this wood line. Right now, Alfheim though is in a pretty bad position, as he is forced to relinquish some of the gathering time, losing Oxcart, or rather hiding it, and he better be careful really, as Alfheim's own raiding is not all that successful. Even though he is fine in the hunt here, he needs to retreat with all he has back into his base, because he just doesn't have enough to deal with his opponents in some reasonable way. On the left, it seems to be going into proper 2v2 between yellow, blue, green and purple. Right now, purple going into medium Epicons, which is switching the momentum into his side even more than it already is. And well, on the right side, we just should have a look what's happening here, because we have two Thors with two TCs. But at this point, due to the shifting sense on the start, it seems like Dark Horse is in a much better position than his opponent Sparks, who is just now starting some military production. Oh well, he did have some raiding, but it doesn't really seem like it was successful, and he's just going back to protect against the attack from Dark Host. He himself, though, doesn't have all that much units. Just right now finished with some of the food here, and better move on. Otherwise, he will be in a similarly bad position as his opponent. And well, he better be careful, because the army right now seems to be a bit more numerous on Spark's side. And it might be a bad idea to engage, but not when you actually advance or upgrade it into medium raiders. So that's a pretty good one. But Spark is right now doing Absolutely the same thing. So yeah, this is basically as mirror game as it can be on the right side between those two Thors. Yubi has made his way inside the base of Blue, who is having pretty decent amount of Hersiers, and as a Loki, he should be in for some spawns of the mythical units. And well, despite I kinda thinking it's not really all that well placed, but at least Alfheim is right now sure and knows where the opponents are and can defend as much as he can and as effectively as he can. Tower's finally up, so that should result in finally Blue's base being safe from any raiding. And well, let's have a look at what Piska is doing in Yellow's base. Right now, he still doesn't have boiling pitch or yeah, just the thingy, and that is better. Actually allows you to shoot at units right under the towers. So he is having problems a bit because he doesn't have enough army, just this few. And well, he just finished his gold and he isn't getting any further. So that's pretty bad. That's like 16 millis idle. And for already quite some time. So he better pay some attention because yeah, right now he finally is. But it was already a pretty bad downtime and could have some consequences in the middle game. Again, some idols here from Dark Horse this time, who is consumed with the Battle Micro at Sparks' home base, almost. And it seems like he will be getting some extra help from Piska, and this is going to turn into some reasonable fight, as Yube has joined the battle as well, with a few units here, and this is going to be a pretty bad battle for Darkos, and he is going to lose absolutely everything, and this might actually give some opportunity to ONU to go right into the offensive here quite fully, because they haven't lost all that many units, whereas Darkos lost almost everything. Almost everything, and yep, right now he is not doing all that well, and Sparks is doing all he can to put him out of this forward position. Right now I'm kind of interested if somebody is advancing into Bragi, for example. So far it doesn't really seem so, and well, maybe the Poseidon, he is right now at 2 TCs as well, possibly hoping that he can go for a threat quite some time reasonably soon. But well, right now, still Alfheim having all kinds of troubles securing some extra gold. Even though he is walled pretty decently, he is still letting some of those green units get through. But that should be it, as his walls are right now finished, and yellow should help him get rid of those extra turmas. And yep, that should be pretty much it for him, and he should be reasonably safe. Hopefully going for a second TC himself, and he is the first one to go into heroic, so that pretty good job on that, and he is relinquishing some better echo for H advantage, which might be the correct choice. 50% into Thea for Yubi himself. And how's it looking for the set? Sharingba. Sharingan BR. Not yet advancing, even though he is probably just now trying to make sure that he has a popped army and can defend his ally Blue. And Alpine right now asking for a short recess, so let's have a look around. They seems to be going into pretty hard battle for the BrTs to actually defend, as they don't really have enough army here, just a bit of red, and yellow is... I saw him somewhere close. He was having a bit of an army here, together with blue, and they might be wanting to move everything into the right side, because this army is pretty scary, and I kinda thinking that Sparks is very close to having actually a popped army, and purple is not far behind because he's having quite a lot of Epicons and on multiple places, and they are already mediums, so that's a pretty much strongest army in the classical age. Well, Teal is already having Dwarven armory, so he is possibly thinking about advancing as well, but first he goes for a TC, as he kinda thinks that the battle might be decided in classical still. And yep, this is finally the yellow army I was looking for, and that's a pretty strong one. And since it's quite a decent army of axemen together with spearmen, that would be a pretty good one against those horses, but the numbers are pretty brutal. And well, a bit of micro and careful choice of the battlefield is presupposed here for any kind of success. On the left side, it seems like Alfheim is finally in a comfortable position to defend against his opponent Yubi. Right now Yubi is having quite a lot of turmas here, so that's not a fight he wants to take, and well, with those Hippicons joining the battle though, that's just now turning into Alfheim's disadvantage, as as good a position this looked like. Right now, it's turning into a pretty bad one because Bisca is playing a pretty good pocket and being at the right spot at the right time. So the left battle is again going against Alfheim, and in the middle, how's it looking? Well, it seems like Sparks together with Bisca are just right now intent on trading, and not really going to destroy some opponent's bases or whatever. And Sparks is actually advancing into the front TC of his opponent Dark Host, who isn't paying any attention at all. Maybe just this guy will see it, but it will be already too late, and Sparks will be at 4 TCs, and I don't really see any kind of army or whatever from Dark Host that could stop it or take it back, so that's a pretty bad one. And Dark Host is trying to somehow put a stop to it through at least boats, so that's what this guy is going to do. And well, Sparks has to be careful about it, but still it might be a tad too late to actually be of significant use. Since he's going for the dogs, I would expect he might be wanted to go into some of kind of heroic, which he isn't yet if I haven't missed anything. No, I haven't, because just arrow ships are not good enough, he needs the sea ships, but he is already preparing, so yeah, better prepared than nothing. Right now this is quite interesting battle, and it seems like Onus kinda overestimated their abilities, as they have been caught in a pretty bad situation fighting against a popped army of Sharingan, who had the correct units against the cavalry, and well, it cost Onu quite a lot of units, especially purple, and well, teal is at like a third of the units here as well, and well, he was slightly too late to stop Sharingan from getting extra TC as well, and seems like BrTs are slightly stabilizing, but for the TC on the right that was stolen by Sparks. On the left though, another TC is being stolen from BrT, and this time it's by Yube, although he better be careful because this army is pretty strong, and not even the extra help from purple, which is just 4 Hippicons, could help them. It's not like Oranos is pretty good against mythical units, and right now Alfheim is calling on for flaming weapons to decide this battle once and for all, and this guy is slightly too late and he doesn't really want to fight against the flaming weapons here at all, but he might be forced to. It might not end all that well for him. Having all those Turmas is really not ideal in this position and at this time, because they are having such a low attack and they're absolutely, yeah, they're just a waste of population limit at this point, as they will be so easily killed and really doesn't do a whole lot of difference. Although he's right now into Aphrodite, and that does help, because that's how many piggies do we have here? 7 piggies, so 7 units just disappeared from the battle just like that. And it's just right now going into Onus way. Right now going quite offensively for the gold gathering here, even without being safely secure, because Alfheim still is having all those 3 piggies quite well alive, and he is trying to use the Willy, who is a hero, to take them down. At the same time, it seems like Bisca has fully went into the left side with all his army right now. I don't really see anything on the right, as it seems that Sparks with 40 Cs is pretty much content being by himself, and he is doing pretty well there. Otherwise, it seemed like Dark Host was maybe trying to finish some of the walls that were here from before, but they weren't finished, and if they were, they would give him some extra maneuvering possibilities, which he is right now lacking. He's trying to go for some kind of desperate raiding at this point, I would say, because all Onus are stealing TCs all around the game, and yeah, you can see that Dark Host and Alfheim are at just 2, and Yube will be 4 quite soon, and I'm not exactly sure how Alfheim will be able to defend against that again, even with all those piggies, but with flaming weapons already gone. Right now though, he is having 5 piggies here, and that should be more than enough to take the TC down if Green is not careful. Right now he has a lot of archive, but he should maybe make some heroes of them, because otherwise he won't be able to defend. And this is quite an interesting attempt from yellow together with green, or with blue, to somehow put a dent to the idea that Yube might be controlling the left of the map. Right now Yube has to be careful, and he really needs the help from his ally, and I don't really think that this raiding from Bisca is serving all that much purpose, because they would do much better if they simply somehow overpowered their opponents on some spot, already having heavy Hippicons with some pretty good upgrades to put some of those opponents out of commission altogether. Let's just check some of those upgrades on the other guys as well. Nothing for Alpine. Green is having also nothing, and yellow also absolutely nothing. So still some pretty straight economies, trying to rate whatnot, but well, with the possibility of having the mercenaries here, I'm not exactly sure what Pisca is trying to find here. And well, on the right, the TC advantage is definitely paying off for Sparks, who is fighting right now 4 versus 2, and having a pretty decent building spam, deny any gold whatsoever to his opponent. Dargos though advances into Mythics through Tyr, so that's some kind of possibility that could help him, although with ONU Sparks right now going to Boulder and going right off for the Ragnarok, I don't exactly see how Dargos can defend against this. With both yellow and blue being fully engaged on the left side, fighting against Yube together with Biscuit, who is raiding with half of his army, and the rest is just now waiting here, trying to capture the front TC, which is a pretty good idea, as a Poseidon and going right now into Artemis. He will be having quite a strong mythical army of the Greek, and well, here we have Dark Host with some protected by Fimbulwinter, but again, this is not going to go all that well, but he cast the Fimbulwinter quite cleverly, because he prevented the flaming weapons from his opponent's Ragnarok. So right now this is a bit blunted attack from Sparks, but it will be still pretty strong. And I don't really think he needs to worry about the flaming weapons. He should just go full in. He will lose some units, but he will just annihilate absolutely the army from his opponent. And yeah, just go forward into attack and use all the advantage you can. And just then, when the Fimbulwinter is gone, flaming weapons for Teal is going to come into play as well. Yep, here we are, and that's going to be goodbye TC, goodbye army from Red altogether. On the left, it seems like Pisca has finally found some pretty bountiful thingy to raid. Well, that's a pretty good one, and right now everybody is fleeing the scene here. And well, just Pisca wasn't paying enough attention. He was probably consumed with this battle and just missed all those villies here, which is slightly unfortunate. But at this point, it just might not matter all that much, as the TC has been lost by Sharingan to the Ragnarok here. That is just now going from red to yellow, and right now BRTs recognize that the game is out of their hands, and ONUs are leading in the League Cup quarterfinals 1-0. Well, it was a pretty good job. Pretty good job here, and well, very nicely played by ONU. It was kind of commanding performance, and they didn't really let their opponents into the game from the very start, and BRTs were just defending altogether. Having a look at the post game here, some of those, well, on Sparks, yeah, he was having a pretty decent military count, but that's the Ragnarok here. Tolkien, and otherwise Sharingan military count big, but not very a high number of units killed. It's kind of interesting. And research count not really all that high all across the board. A lot of food from Sharingan, not exactly sure why he wasn't properly using it. Yeah, he had like a ton resources, so that's kind of interesting, but well, anyway, ONUs really played this quite well. GG.